Hello, and welcome to episode 102 of the SheGulls podcast, the one and only podcast dedicated to Brighton Hove Albion women's football team. As always, I am joined by fellow Albion fans Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Duncan.
By Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Duncan.
And by Abby. Hello, Abby.
Hello, Duncan.
Hooray, we're all
Yay.
back. The awesome foursome are back. Back once again, like the Renegade Master, as I said in the description. Yes, so I mean it's hot again, isn't it? That's the news. Obviously, I don't know. It may just have been me who was foolish enough to stay up last night as well and watch the England game. So I wouldn't sound worse for the wear, but the eyes have been drooping throughout the day. Desperately trying to stay awake and not have a little nap.
I woke up about 3:45 just because it was hot or something.
Thinking it would have finished.
I thought, I'll just check to see how they got on, and then I'll go back to sleep. And obviously they were still playing because it got delayed. So I watched the last 10 minutes or so, and then the last 11 minutes. So,
I did plan to stay up. I thought, something possessed me to think that at this age I can still do that kind of thing. And so I was up. I was ready for the 1 o'clock, and at 12:30 or whatever, they said it was delayed an hour. I went, no, fuck that, I'm off to bed. I can't do till 2. That's just ridiculous.
I did exactly the same thing because my wife comes home from work at midnight, and I thought, I'll just watch the beginning bit. Exactly the same thing. Looked on my phone, delayed an hour. Thank you, good night. Off to bed.
Yeah.
I think that happened to a lot of people. My cut-off was 2. I had a feeling it was going to get delayed, and I wasn't sure by how much. But when they announced it would be kicking off at 2, I thought, right, if it gets delayed anymore, I'm going to go to bed. But thankfully, by I think half an hour after the scheduled kickoff, they were saying that the storm had sort of moved away. So I felt relatively confident at that point that it was going to go ahead. So, but yeah, it was, I think, 4:15-ish by the time I got to bed. So, yeah, but, we do these things for football, don't we? We do indeed. So there we go. That's enough England chat. We want to obviously get on to Brighton subjects. And we have had a little bit of news, not a lot, but a little. I think there was Paul Daniels' catchphrase, not a lot.
It was, but you'll like it.
There you go. Hopefully you'll like it, what we're going to talk about anyway. So we're going to go through, obviously, the signings. We've also had a player, obviously, leave, which is sad. But, we understand it happens. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to finish off with a little sort of what's more likely. So just to get some discussion going about what else might happen. Across
we were totally, absolutely uselessly wrong with the last time we did that. So
yes,
what would happen in the next 2 weeks? Absolutely sod all.
That's true. And also, what do we know anyway?
I was about to pose the question: when have we ever been right?
Yeah, I think without sort of burying the lead, after the first player that we signed, I think I said, I don't think we'll sign any more players anytime soon. And I think the second one came in the same day. And I was like, oh, there you go then. Well, what do I know?
He knows nothing.
Exactly. I know nothing.
No, nothing.
That was Manuel, I think. So we're getting some pop culture references in there. So let's talk about the incomings, I think. Let's start on a positive. So we've had 2 players that have been announced as signed. I think they both came fairly soonish after our last podcast, and I think the first one was the next day, perhaps 2 days. But
they do it on purpose. I think they watch the show.
I think that's what it is.
And then they go, they didn't mention anyone. Chuck one out. Yeah.
And then, of course, by the time we get round to talking about it, it's old news. So, there we go. But so the first player that was announced as signing, this one was probably a bit out of the blue, although, to be fair, the majority of Brighton signings come out of the blue. They're very, very good at keeping things under wraps. Was Eleanor Heaps coming in from Spurs. Not sure if she was out of contract or what the situation was there, but very much they literally signed a keeper, I think, the day before it was announced that she was coming to us. So I think slightly sort of, maybe not surplus requirements, but was probably going to be sort of 3rd or 4th on their list, so looking for a change, looking
or
for
we'd already snaffled her and they had to replace her. So
absolutely possible. The player that they signed, incidentally, came from Bran, which was where Martin Ho was before. So yeah, it could have just been like almost like a reflex action of like, oh, we've lost ours, so I'll just go back to my old club and nick their goalkeeper. But one way or another, she comes to us. I think one of the things, obviously, that is good about it is the fact that she will be a homegrown eligible player. We've spoken before about wanting to have those sort of talented second and third keepers be homegrown, because it eases the pressure on the remainder of the squad to have those homegrown players mixed in there. So that was all positive. So let's start with Claire. What was your reaction? Not necessarily to Eleanor Heaps, because she hasn't played a ton. I don't need you to give her a scouting report or anything. I couldn't.
Good.
But what was your sort of thinking about another goalkeeper coming in? Because of course we're still not quite sure what is going on with Melina at the moment. So when you saw we'd signed a new goalkeeper, what was your sort of first reaction?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't see Melina coming back personally. I think it's a replacement for Baggers and Melina, but I might be wrong. But I just think that the end of the contract season is over. So technically, everybody is saying goodbye to all their loan players, and they haven't said goodbye to Melina yet. So I'm kind of like, is that because she's not going and she's staying with them for another season, whether that's as our player on loan or they're taking her full time? Because I don't know that she would want to come back and be a number 2 now that she's had a whole season as number 1 and done very well. So I don't know. I think I could possibly see Eleanor Heaps going in as our number 2, which will be interesting. But then, that's interesting then for Hannah. Like, where does Hannah see herself? Like, another season, is she going out on loan, or is she going to be, kind of snapping at the heels for a go? I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Obviously, we had to get a goalkeeper in with losing Baggers, but I think most of us kind of assumed Baggers was going. That meant Melina was coming back, and so that the fact that we've bought another goalkeeper in suggests to me that she's not.
Yeah, and I guess obviously if Melina had gone out there and not played as many games or not been as good as she has been, then it would have been very logical for her to come back, and perhaps even, dare I say, Hammarby wouldn't have wanted to sign her. But really the opposite's happened. She's played a lot of minutes. She's basically their number 1 goalkeeper, isn't she? And she's played really well out there. So it kind of makes sense if Hammarby are interested to allow her to move on. It probably benefits all parties. And then it also, like I say, with the homegrown situation, it allows our number 2 and number 3 goalkeepers to both occupy those spaces, which means we only need 6 homegrown players in the outfield squad. So that does give us a little bit more flexibility. But yeah, that's interesting. Abby, how about you? Were you sort of similar? I don't think anyone's edging Chia out, put it that way.
No.
It would have to be someone incredibly good and probably beyond the realms of possibility of them joining Brighton, although Chia did, so you never say never. But do you think there will be a sort of a training camp competition a little bit between Heaps and Hannah, or do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, would that be what you would be along the lines of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done a very quick look at Wikipedia. Other reference sites are available, and she was at Tottenham, then she went away for a bit, then she went back to Tottenham, then she did a lot of loan periods. So she's actually got a reasonable amount of experience around and about because she's been out on loan. So I think it's quite nice for her to be, in a place where she can possibly lay down some roots. I think she will fit very well into Brighton, having looked at some of her social media. I think this is a good fit for her. And it'd be nice to see some competition. The only way we're going to lose Chia, as far as I'm considering, is if somebody comes in with silly money and says, we've noticed that she's the best keeper in the WSL, which I think she is. Here's lots and lots of money. We would like to take her. And I can't see Brighton saying no to that, sadly. So we've got to have something coming in behind. to support. And also, you're only one injury away from not having a keeper, particularly the way she throws herself around the pitch. So it'll be interesting to see. I would be very, very sad to see Melina go. I think she's lovely, and I think she's a very good goalkeeper. But I also think she's possibly found her place at Hammarby. That's where she. There's so many Swedish teams, I lose track. I think she's found her place there. I don't think we'll see her back. I think we've got Heaps and Poulter potentially as the 2 and 3, but which way round they are, absolutely, I think that will be decided in training camp.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, do you think that there's a possibility that I wouldn't have thought it would be Heaps, but if Heaps wins the sort of training camp battle with Hannah, do you think that there's a possibility Hannah could go out on loan and they could call up the third keeper as a Silvana, say, from the younger age groups? Do you think, like we've said with Heaps going out on loan a few times, she's got a bit more experience in that area than Hannah, although they're not, I think she's maybe only a year or two older. Do you think that might be what happens if Heaps wins the battle? Do you think Hannah might benefit from going out on loan and kind of following that same path?
I guess it's possible. I mean, it depends on the loan, doesn't it? I mean, if she's going to be sent out and just warm the bench for the whole season, then she might as well stay here and do it. I think she is. I think Ellen Heaps is coming in ahead of Hannah. I mean, she's a couple of years older, but got more experience, obviously, because Hannah hasn't actually been able to play yet. I think she's almost seems like a straight swap for Baggers, and I'm not going to say upgrade because Baggers still has only just left the building, so sadly she's been taken off the website, which is a bit of a sort of tearjerker the other day. She's taller than Baggers, that kind of stuff. So I think she's coming in as Cheers reserve. I think she'll be the League Cup keeper, whatever. And I think Hannah will spend another season as either number 3 or possibly going on loan. But again, it's I think the great thing about Hannah, like you say, we've got 2 English goalkeepers, which are very good for our homegrown stats. And Hannah seems very capable. I mean, she looks good when you see them warming up before the games, and she looked good when she was out at Portsmouth the other year. So she's very capable to sort of understudy the understudy, as it were. So I think goalkeepers, you kind of have to be patient when you're a goalkeeper, don't you? They're a strange breed anyway. I think they sort of train on their own, that kind of stuff, and they got their own kit and that sort of thing. And once one player gets established, then you basically have to wait a very long time to get your own look in, don't you? So I think Eleanor obviously knows she's not coming in as number 1 because she can see what we've already got, and I think Hannah, I think she's still only 20. Will hopefully realise that she's still developing and that kind of stuff. So I think it's certainly worth keeping her for the homegrown aspect, unless we pick up lots of other English players around all over the place. And I think as the other guy said, I think it really, having watched quite a lot of young Melina Lurk at Hammarby this year, she looks so happy and so established there and stuff. So I think since as Claire said, they haven't said goodbye to her, she hasn't said goodbye to them. Officially, her loan ended on the 30th of June, but haven't seen her back yet. So who knows? But yeah, I think as Abby said though, Ellen Heaps does look good. And she's got England unders, was it up to under 19s or something like that experience?
I think so.
So she's obviously one of the better young English goalkeepers out there. So hopefully we picked up a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right with the situation with goalkeepers, obviously, because it's one of the very few positions where you can only have like one on the pitch, can't you? So it's not like where, you know, you could play someone who's a striker, but you want to give them some minutes. So maybe you play them a bit deeper or out wide or whatever. Very rarely does a goalkeeper get subbed anyway. And obviously it's not like you can stick them on as a centre back for the last 10 minutes to give them a run out.
Funny you say that. There was, I think on Chia's Instagram, she had a picture of the Nigerian men's goalkeeper wearing a blue and white stripy Brighton shirt with Nnadozie on the back and the number 1. So, you know, it's like she has got one. So I think, you know, I think all goalkeepers think they're footballers as well, don't they? So,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
There are worse people I'd put on as a last resort than Chia.
That's true.
If I needed someone, I'd put her on because she'd throw herself at everything. Like Abby said,
she has gone up a couple of times, hasn't she? And she does make a nuisance of herself. So
she likes to play out. She's always comfortable with the ball at her feet. So why not?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Chia to score a goal for the Albion before she leaves at some point, some way, somehow. Even if it's a penalty shootout, maybe. But there we go.
Yeah, right. Just open play, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, all the better. Yeah. So.
I mean, she's up at the halfway line often enough. She'll just pick it up there, boot it, and chip the keeper.
Yeah.
In the commentary on the FA Cup semi-final after Nadine scored, they sort of the commentator noted, "Oh, and Nnadozie's up to the halfway line. That's where she normally is." Yeah. It's remarkable when she's not.
Maybe she's confused that with the 6-yard box.
Yeah,
maybe. She does like to get involved, doesn't she? And we love that about her.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Eleanor Heaps. As I say, a bit out of nowhere, but I think I said it on the socials. Honestly, probably another sort of Albion signing, a good young homegrown player who could potentially develop into something else. You know, or she just stays as a number 2 and then eventually Hannah takes over or whatever it may be, but it makes sense. And I think that's what you want to see when your team are playing signing players, is that it feels like it makes sense. It's logical. We need a player in that position, or someone's leaving, whatever it may be. So obviously, like you say, we have Baggers. She's gone. Melina, we know her loan contract was up at the end of June, because they actually announced the end of the loan date as the end of June. So essentially, she's either a free agent at the moment, which would be slightly strange, or they've signed her.
She signed a contract with us before she left. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Beg your pardon. Yeah, so she wouldn't be a free agent, but they would have to agree another loan if she's going to play for Hammarby still. Or they would have to buy her. So something has got to happen with that quite imminent. I don't know when Hammarby next play, because I remember Ben saying that there is a slight break
for a few weeks.
Yeah, so maybe that is giving them a bit of leeway, but she can't play under her existing deal anymore for Hammarby. So she needs to Brighton need to agree another loan, which probably would then start to take her to the end of her Brighton contract, in which case I don't really see what's in it for the Albion, to be honest with you, because she'd just walk at the end of the contract. Or more than likely, they'll probably come to some sort of arrangement for a fee, some sort of nominal fee, and that's the way she'll go. But yeah, it all remains to be seen. You can never say never with these things. Sometimes things can change. Hammarby might not have any money, although I doubt that, because they sell half their team every season. Somehow seem to be still quite good. So fair play to them. So there we go. So that was Eleanor Heaps. Like I say, very logical signing, but I can't say it wasn't necessarily setting the pulses racing, as it were. But no disrespect to Eleanor.
It's just not the one we're all waiting for.
Exactly. We
all know what we're waiting for. We all know which position we want filled, because we've been waiting for it for 2 years. So can we get on with that, please, Zoe?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's the one thing that should be pointed out, even though we have signed 4 players now, is that we still have not signed a striker. So
I've got that song, Still Not Found What We're Looking For, going through my head every day.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there to me, it's not often you can say, oh, they're definitely going to do more business. But I think in this case we can, because the strikers are what we need, and we still haven't got them. So yeah, it's crazy, crazy man, as it were. So there we go. So that was it was good news. It was logical news. It was good on the Albion, great signing. But we were hoping for something else. We heard the rumours. I think we might even have been spoken about the rumours about Leah Valti on last week's episode. And then quite imminently, we got a whole... Obviously, they announced the signing. Fantastic. But we got a whole barrage of like videos and social media. And so obviously this had been done a day or two, or maybe even a little bit longer before, because even with Joromo and Crazy Man, it was like sort of snapshots and they visited the training ground and stuff like that. This was almost like a sort of a portfolio of like media came out about Leah Valti. She's in Brighton, it's raining, she's got an umbrella, all this sort of thing. Then she's doing a sort of sit down interview and stuff with the club media. Sort of, I guess it was probably a bit longer, but we got to see about 5 minutes of an interview with her, which again, not the same as what we had with the other two players. Excuse me. It may be that they're still finalizing their actual relocation from from their countries where they're playing already to here or whatever. So maybe we'll hear more as it goes on. But I'll go back around the horn the other way. So Ben, when you saw the news about Leah Valti, what was your reaction?
I mean, great. I think it's one of those things, I suppose. I mean, she's 33, so she's not, coming. I don't know. I mean, she's coming in as a really, really experienced player, and obviously, most of that experience has been with Arsenal, so she knows how to win. She knows how to play a key role in the middle of a good team and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, slightly tempered because of the age.
Ben's frozen.
He's frozen and gone.
I totally get. I think the thing for me was the age. The age is a little bit of a concern, but I think she's going to play every single game? No. If you're fit as a fiddle and you look after yourself, you should be able to play on till you're 35-ish. Easily at the top level. And I just think we are a perfect fit for someone like her, because she's what we need, which is experience in depth. But we're also what she needs, because she wants to be back in the WSL and she wants to be as close to London as she can, because I think her partner still plays for Arsenal. So she wants to be, I assume, back in this country. And what a great place to be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not that far. And I don't think there probably would have been that many other options as good as us. So, and I think there is like a potential to end your career at a club like Brighton, having got them to fourth, having got them to Europe or something like that. Like, that's quite an achievement, I think, to help a squad like Brighton. So I think with the likes of her and Fran and Yeli and potentially one more who we all hope is coming in, that's a huge amount of experience right the way through the spine of the team. Because if you take, you've got Chia in goal, you've got Caitlin, who's the major experience in the defence, right the way through the team, then you've got a real big spine of experience there. So yeah, it'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, although she, I think people might be slightly surprised, because they were thinking obviously Fran and, potentially if Beth England does come, they're kind of towards the end of their careers. Well, then obviously, Valti's even older than they are. So from that perspective, yeah, not by a massive amount, but
it's 2 months between her and Fran, and I think people are talking like she's about to draw her.
Oh, no, it's absolutely not. But
they are very much of the same level.
Yeah,
and sometimes you would take experience over, a very enthusiastic puppy running around.
Well, exactly, and especially she's a number 6, isn't she? So she's not necessarily. She doesn't have to play a running around like a lunatic game.
That's
she
exactly
can be a Lionel Messi type, just strolling around and using her experience. So that will extend her career. But that is also Maisie's position. So I'm hoping it means Maisie is going to get further up the pitch where we would like to see her being a bit more of an attacking force rather than stuck in number 6.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Obviously, for Fran and Beth, if she comes, they have had to adapt their game as they've got older. Whereas Vouty probably has to a certain extent, but essentially as a sort of a holding midfielder, she was never really like a box to box. Someone like Marnham will get involved in defending, but she will also get and score goals and things like that. She'll make through runs and things, but Vouty, that's not really her game. So I do think her longevity is probably pretty good. I think even though, like we say, she's 33, she's kind of the same age or similar age to sort of Fran, and it is that kind of bringing in that clear head. And I think it also makes sense when you also bear in mind that we brought in Yorimo, who she's 24, so she's not young in the game, like she's actually quite experienced, but maybe just needs one or two small refinements, and actually playing alongside and playing with even in training, someone like Vouty could turn her into, at the moment, what is I don't think she's even a prospect. I think she's a very good player, but it could be enough for a 24-year-old to make the leap from being a very good player to being a world-class player. And that's where they might be sort of thinking they need sort of some mentorship in the midfield. So that would be interesting.
I think Dario is quite keen on competition on the training grounds.
Yeah,
he's mentioned that a few times, that when they didn't play so well, it's because there wasn't the competition, because people were injured and out. There wasn't the competition, and he really likes that. And you can sort of see it in some of the signings that they're making.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, before you got cut off, you were about to launch into full flow.
Yeah, I think, echoing what you guys have just said, actually, really, the age is a thing, but the experience is an even bigger one. I think, she's used to winning. She spent 7 seasons at Arsenal, was not omnipresent, but a real key part of the Arsenal team that was. They actually didn't win much those years, did they? I think they won the title one year, and obviously they won the Champions League in their last year.
A couple of League Cups, I think.
Yeah. So, so she's used to being part of a very, very good midfield, and she, will bring a lot of that in. I think, I don't know why Juventus hasn't really been successful, because, you think, you look at the rest of the Italian leagues, and you think, well, an Arsenal midfield would be head and shoulders above everybody in the Italian league. So something obviously didn't work there, maybe on a personal level or something. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that it's kind of a sort of marquee sort of thing that that we haven't just signed any old 33-year-old. We've got like a biggie, so that it's exciting in that respect. And as you say, I think hopefully it gives Maisie, who hasn't signed yet, so get on with it. Hopefully it give her a chance to move forward a bit more. Obviously having Leah Vouty and Fran Kirby with her will make her an even better player. And yeah, so great. Fantastic. It's very, very strange, actually. I think I was saying earlier on that, I don't know if it's because this was announced on a Saturday. There's been virtually nothing about this in the media. I know we're very used to the media not talking about Brighton, but this is Leah Vouty. So
yeah, it's all over social media.
Yeah, no,
it's not over media. Like I say, there's absolutely. I think I looked on the BBC page, and it's talking about all kinds of things, but not one mention of Brighton signing anyone at any point when we've signed 4 players.
Yeah, no, so it's a bit weird. I mean, I suppose you sign Nadia Crazy Man, and everyone goes, well, that's not worth a page on the BBC website or the Guardian Women's Football or whatever. But you sign Leah Vouty, you think that'd be worth a mention by somebody. But apparently Leah Williamson's changing room playlist is more exciting. But so yeah, it's a strange one. I suppose the other thing as well is, you say that all the media and stuff that was prepared for it. I can't remember when it was that it rained last in Brighton. So they really picked a day, didn't they? You know, we have an absolute mega heat wave for about 6 weeks. It rains on one day, and that's the day they choose to get their sort of new signing in to do videos on the seafront. But yeah, she looks great. And again, I've obviously, when players come in, I start following them on the socials and stuff. And it's like, why was I not following her before? There's all this beautiful sort of wholesome Swissness and things all over it, like walking in the mountains and things. It's beautiful. So
yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think she's been part of a pretty good Swiss side for a long time. And the sort of heir apparent to her is Geraldine Reuteler, probably, although Reuteler's probably a little bit more attacking. But sounds like she's going to be going to Arsenal, so why not get the sort of, I wouldn't even say the second best, but like if you can't get the top person, then you go for someone who brings something else to the party, which I think Vouty does. She's played in WSL before as well, which Reuteler hasn't, so who knows how that translates. It doesn't always work as simply as, oh well, they were good in Germany or wherever, so that they come into the WSL and that they're guaranteed to be good. It doesn't always work like that. I think the other thing from Maisie's point of view, if I had to put myself in her shoes, and this is not really so much to do with the contract situation, because we all want you to sign, please, Maisie. Thank you, please, thank you. Thank you, dear sir. But more along the lines of like her as a player is, we mentioned this a couple of times at the end of last season, no goals, no assists. And I feel like a player like Maisie is going to say, I'm not doing that again next season. I need to be scoring. I need to be getting the lovely outside of the ball, outside of the boot passes and stuff are great. But I think she'd rather be in there laying on a ball for Fran Kirby to put in the top corner, or, taking it past a player and sliding it across the face and getting those assists and stuff. I know assists can be a bit of a weird stat, but I think she's almost slightly disconnected from an element that she enjoys, which is attacking.
And also I think if she wants to be in that England squad, that those stats need to be up, because that's what they're looking at, and that's why
they're the most obvious stats.
That's why the likes of Kendall or whatever are getting in ahead of her, and it's I think it's frustrating because we all know that Maisie is that player. I don't want to tell Dario that he doesn't know what he's talking about, because obviously he does, but I did think it was just a weird one to move her into the number 6, because I've never seen her as a number 6.
I think there was a couple of elements to it. I think one, we didn't have a natural 6 when we lost Lasada, and I don't even think she was particularly a natural number 6. I think that was just, she was coming to the end of her career and she couldn't get up and down like she used to, which is a bit different to someone like Vouty, who's always played that position sort of thing. So I think it was partly that, and also I think they wanted to, because she was obviously voted captain, I think they wanted to have her start like every game. And I think if she'd been in the 8 or the 10, occasionally they would have had to have dropped her to give Yele a game. Obviously, Fran, you kind of want in there if she's fit, and so on and so forth. So there would have been more competition. And if there's a spot where you can put your captain and they're going to play every game, I think there might have been a little bit of logic to that. But like I say, it didn't necessarily help her flourish as a player. She didn't have a bad season. In fact, I think we all agree she had a better season than a few people who get more recognition than she does. But I do think, exactly like you say, Claire, everyone will look at how many points you got and what position you finished. They don't really care what your XG was, even if you should have finished 5th or whatever. So I think it's the same with Maisie. People will look and go, well, she's a midfielder. She didn't score any goals and she didn't get any assists. What's she doing? But the thing is that we know that's not, a true reflection of what was happening. But I do think, as a player as ambitious as Maisie, and I don't think it's not an arrogance, but she wants to be one of the best players in the world. If you're a midfielder and you want to be one of the best players in the world, you've got to be either setting up chances or scoring.
Yeah.
that's just what will set you high and above everyone else. You know, Stanway will score goals for England. Walsh doesn't, but then she is a natural 6. She is more like a Valti. But, you know, like I say, Stanway will, Toon will, Clinton will, you know, blah, blah, blah. List them off because they're the 8s and the 10s or the false 9s or whatever. So I'm hoping that's what it's going to be, and that we're just waiting to hear, you know, Maisie's thing is being held for some sort of logistical reason or like a promotional reason, like they want to announce it when the new kit comes out or something, which we might talk a tiny bit about later. But yeah, I think Valti gives you, she raises the level of all of that unit, put it this way, but she also can act as that kind of mentor over and above. You know, we're 1-0 up, we don't panic, or we're 1-0 down, we don't panic, you know, because we did still see that creeping in here or there. You know, games like Villa and stuff, they get one back, and, you know, so on and so forth. So
yeah,
we do need those calmer heads.
Definitely. And I think as well, you know, you saw it at the FA Cup final, no disrespect to anyone in our squad, but when Manchester City have their full team out and then can decide to bring on the likes of Miedemar and, you know, various other first-class top players that in any other squad would be in the first team, you know, and we don't have that. So I think we need to be strengthening that depth so that we do have those players that can come on and make a difference when they come on, because, you know, we've had it occasionally, we've seen it in glimpses, but we've not had it as like a constant throughout the whole season. So it'd be really good to see that bit of depth there, that you've got a player like Valti who either starts for the first 60 or she comes on for the last 20, whatever. You know, it's something that opposition players will look at and go, uh-oh, you know, rather than they see us at the moment bringing on a couple of kids because that's all we've got, because we've got a load of injuries and we haven't got any other depth there. And they're just like, well, whatever.
Yeah, and you look at the best squads in the league as well, and you look at the appearances by each player, and you'll see several good players for Chelsea, for Arsenal, Man City, Man United, I suppose. You know, they won't necessarily play every single minute of every single game. And I think you need that flexibility in there to be able to put in at least a replacement that's kind of on the same level. Maybe a good game or a bad game can discern the level, but, you know, that if you're taking off Yorimo because, you know, we're 2-0 up and you want to see the game out, then you've got someone like Valti to come on, and you're not like, oh, if we take Yorimo off, we're going to be weak and we might lose our heads and blah, 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 blah. You know, and vice versa. If we play like an Arsenal and, you know, Dario thinks, well, what I actually need here is people who have been there and done that, then you start someone like Valti. And, you know, if we are not playing well or whatever, and you make some substitutions, or if Valti starts to lose their efficacy towards the end of the game, then you've got Yorimo or someone else to bring on, or a Sonoda, someone like that. So I suppose that's the thinking, and then you'll see players with sort of between sort of 16 and 18 games a season, which I think is more ideal, really, because it means that you're not quite so reliant on, you know, players playing every minute of every game. I mean, goodness only knows what we really would have done if Marissa Oleslagers had got injured last season, like properly injured. I know she, I think she had had one or two knocks, and I think they rested her towards the end of the season. I think it might have been the Arsenal game she didn't play. The one on the Wednesday night, I can't remember, but
nobody played in that. It was just basically spring, wasn't it? So yeah,
exactly. But it's sort of like, you know, we're thinking now that we've got good, strong backups in each position. You know, I mean, we've obviously got 3 good centre backs, the 3 that played a lot of the time. Well, if one of those goes down and is injured, then we've obviously got Mpome who can come in, who's, you know, should be at the same level as the other 3, really, and actually probably would have been part of that 3 if she'd been fit at the beginning of the season. You know, and even if you go below her, at the moment we've got someone like Marit who could come in. Whether she stays or goes, we're obviously not sure. You know, and even then, if you go a level below that, we've probably got someone like Jess Pegram coming in from quite a successful run at Rangers. So we should be sort of in a position of strength, and I think that's what some of these signings are doing. Is they're not necessarily blowing anyone out of the water. They're good. sensible signings with either high upside or low downside. Like there's not really a downside to getting someone like Valti. I mean, I suppose if she got injured the whole season, that would be worst case scenario. But she's such a good player. Well, exactly. But she's been such a good player, and she is still such a good player that really, we're coming at it from a position where we're secure in the knowledge that she is going to be, a great addition to the team, and that's hopefully, what she will be. Abby, do you think this has any impact? We've signed, I would say, it's 2 midfielders really. I think Crazy Man, is going to be out wide, so I suppose she's a forward. She's a midfielder or a forward, but we've signed 2 central midfielders. Do you think that has any impact on Maisie's situation? Does it make you fear that she could be on her way somewhere else?
I've been fearing that since we didn't get anything after the FA Cup final from either her or the club. I would have thought that would have been a perfect way to soothe everybody. Thank you to all these thousands of people that came to the FA Cup final. Maisie's re-signed for another 2 years or whatever it is. So because that hasn't happened, I'm very much going on the no news is bad news. I'm, like Claire has said, quite a lot of times, I don't see where she's going to go that's better than us. But it may well be that she's decided that she needs something different from us. I don't know. Maybe Brighton aren't putting things in. I don't know, and then this is the thing. And to be honest, we don't need to know. We just need to know, if she's staying or going. I would love her to stay, but there was something about the way that they sort of did the media with Valti, where they were sort of going on about her leadership and her this, that, and the other, that I was like, ooh, are they sort of setting her up? Now, I would love Maisie to stay and have these great leadership mentors be there. Valti, Kirby, England, please. Coming in and saying, right, let's mentor you not just as a player, but as a captain, as a leader. I think that would be the best case scenario for the team and for Maisie. Because I also don't think that actually Fran or Leah Valti particularly want to be captains at this point in their career. They just want to sort of like turn up, do the business, and then toddle off. But no, I haven't got a warm, fluffy feeling around Maisie just yet. And it will be. I mean, last year when we saw the kit release, I think we were all at the terrace, sort of looking at pictures and going, Nikita's not in that, and Vicky Losada's not in that. But Fran and Maisie are. So it'd be interesting to see what pops up with that. No, I'm hopeful, but I am tempering my expectations.
Yeah, I do think if it was all done and dusted before the end of the season, which in theory you would think there wouldn't be a barrier to that unless Maisie was thinking of going somewhere else. She might have wanted to sort of test the market and find out what offers come in for her first, which is absolutely her prerogative. The only thing I would say, where I wouldn't say I disagree, but I would say that maybe I probably is the situation with her not necessarily being able to go to a top 4 team, because peek behind the curtain, Ben and I had quite a long conversation last week about this. Now the thing is, she might not be able to go to, I'm going to pick on Man City because that's the example I remember thinking of at the time. You might think, well, she wouldn't get in that midfield. But my point would be, if you look at Man City's 8 homegrown players, you've got, last season, you had Laura Coombs. Is Maisie better than Laura Coombs? Yeah. And Laura Coombs played a few games. They've got someone like Naomi Lazel, easy for me to say. Is Maisie more of an asset to Man City than Naomi Lazel? I think she would be. Doesn't mean she's going to start every game. Doesn't mean she's necessarily going to start every other game. But we've seen the Taylor Hines effect of basically being Taylor to she plays for Arsenal and warms the bench. Taylor.
That's what I was going to say. It's not so much that there's nowhere better for her to go than us. I don't think she plays anywhere more than she plays.
And that's the thing.
Like if it's about football and you wanting to play every week, Brighton is the best option.
Yes,
I agree. Moment. Like, because I think you're looking at the Arsenal team, the Chelsea team. You know, those positions are already filled multiple times. Like, they have really, really good players that they've spent a lot of money on. And so I think if they did take a punt on someone like Maisie, yes, she's talented enough to be in those squads, but is she going to move those players out straight away? Probably not. But being on the bench at Arsenal or being on the bench at Chelsea will get you in the England squad straight away.
Yeah,
this is the conversation we had last week that's had me convinced that she's going to go. And again, I think, you know, especially if you look, I was counting all the homegrown players that the big girls have got, and Chelsea, if they were to lose Niamh Charles, would have to find another one. And you think, well, we've got to find an English player. Either we do, you know, like what we did last year, rather cynically, we didn't get the striker on the end of the last day of the season, whatever, and Keats left, which was a bit of a surprise. So we had to pretend that Emily Gay was a member of the squad to get the quota up. So either Chelsea do that, but Chelsea are in the Champions League and trying to win 4 trophies next year. So they don't want to just fill the thing. They want the best homegrown player they can find. They look around the WSL, who's available that's any good? Well, Maisie Simons, you know. So, and I think, you know, she's from a family of Chelsea players. I think she'd jump at Chelsea. The others, I think she'd think twice about. But I think if Chelsea came for her because they needed an 8th English player, she'd go. And I'm now convinced that she's going to go. Sorry, actually, yes, Charlie's reminded me. They're not.
I'm not convinced of anything until I hear it.
No, I mean,
but I just think, listen. I always say the same thing. If any player wants to go, wish them luck, wish them well. Bye. You're not our player anymore. I'm not worried. But do I want to see them go is another question. And I know I don't, because I think Maisie has a huge amount of talent, and I think we have a great player there that I don't want to see leave and go and make another team better. But it is what it is, isn't it? If she's at the end of her contract and she's entitled to go, then you can't really blame the girl for like wanting to move on with her career. And we're at a very difficult, you know, it's not like the men's game where you get offered £1 million to go and play anywhere. You know, these days in the women's game, a big wage somewhere is few and far between. And I think, you know, if you're being offered it, sometimes I don't think you can say no to it, because you're setting up your future, not just the next 2 or 3 years as a professional footballer. You could earn enough that you could maybe buy a small house and never have to worry about a mortgage. It's not men's game money. So, you know, I think, if anyone came in for her and she was like, I want to give it a go, I would be like, good luck to you. I wouldn't have any animosity about it or anything. But I do worry as to why we haven't announced it if she's staying, because that's a weird one. Unless it is just a case of she's gallivanting around Europe having a holiday and she's like, I'm not coming back to do any promos yet. You're just going to have to wait. I don't know. Maybe that's all it is, you know. Wants a bit of a rest.
Yeah, exactly that. I think, you know, she's, from her perspective, I think at some point, if Brighton aren't going to get there in the next year or two, she is going to have to move on, whether she achieves the goal of getting to one of those top 4, probably like Ben says. I think ultimately she'd probably really love to play for Chelsea. You know, I think, like you say, she doesn't owe us anything. You know, she's been a really good servant. She's been here from when she was younger. She took a chance on us to a certain extent when she could have just stayed comfortable and stayed at Chelsea in their academy and stuff. She didn't. She came to us. So I don't think, I absolutely 100% agree. There wouldn't be any animosity. If anything, if there was a tiny bit of animosity, maybe animosity is not the right word. I've said animosity a lot of times now. Frustration. I would target it more towards the backroom staff who, I mean, if she's got her mind dead set, then you can't do anything, and that's fine. But if any of the back, you know, the board, whoever's got the purse strings is listening, and Maisie's saying, just give me this one extra thing and I'll stay, do it. Yeah. Do it now. because apart from anything else, we need good English players at the core of our team.
Yeah.
You look at the, going around the top 4 teams, they've all got at least 4 or 5 players who are English, who are competing for positions. Sometimes they're locked in, like a Lucy Bronze, someone like that. So we need that too, because otherwise what you essentially have to do is you have to have England players who are just fillers in your squad, and then that means your overall squad is much weaker. So we need to keep as many English players who are going to have an impact on our first team as possible. And who has more of an impact right now than our captain, and basically played every game? I think only played second most amount behind, I think, Marissa. It would be a big blow, because you'd have to try and replace that somehow. Not only would you have to replace Maisie as a player, but you would have to replace her with another English player who's going to play that much. Otherwise, you're going backwards. So, unfortunately, Leah Valti played in England a long time, but unfortunately didn't do the required 3 years before she was 21. So she won't count as homegrown. But yeah, it does add a sort of a little bit of extra, kind of an extra wrinkle to squad building as an art, is kind of finding those players who can contribute, and not just going, well, we've got 15 good players and the other 10 are just, well, if yeah, exactly, they're just there. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to do now, is really make that whole squad strong, so that if someone does get injured, like situation last season, if we'd have still had Nikita and Michelle goes down, it's not quite the same panic stations as it was. We lost Nikita, then we were short on strikers, then we lose Michelle. It really was time to hit the panic button. We never really fully 100% recovered, certainly not until the end of the season from that. So that's why you've got to have those players as backups, because or rotational aspects, because you can't afford to do that again. We can't afford to be in the same position. Let's say we do go and get Beth England. This is why I think we need at least 2 strikers. We go and get Beth England. She starts the first 3 or 4 games, scores a couple of goals, and then she gets injured. We'd be right back to square one.
Yeah. We have got OG coming home.
We would have Olivia Garcia,
yeah.
But again, I think we've spoken about the pressure that was almost like indirectly on Carla, because she was like the only forward in the bloody club. And I really am reticent to do that with OG as well. So, because, like I say, if you do have Beth, OG and Carla, then if something happens to Beth, which I don't think her injury record is actually pretty good the last few years. She has had the odd problem before that and things like that. But generally, she's been pretty consistent with sort of 15, 16 games. But if she does get injured for a while, and we go back to having to rely on players who are still growing, for OG, it'll be her first season in this league. She stepped up from the Danish league to the Swedish league really brilliantly well. And like I said, she's the sort of player who, if she wasn't already at Brighton, I'd be going, this would be a good player to sign. But it doesn't necessarily mean she's ready to start games in the WSL quite yet, or be asked to go out there and score us sort of 10, 12 goals a season. So to me, I still think I would like to see Beth come in, and I would like to see us get a marquee name.
Bunny Shaw.
I'm hopeful. This is a bit of a tangent, because we were talking about Leah Valti, but I'm hopeful about Holly McNamara. And the reason I'm hopeful is she's not being rumoured to go to anywhere else.
I noticed that.
Now, normally,
missing it, but...
No, it's not you. Someone said, I think she's going to Chelsea. And then when I followed the trail back to who said it, it was just a fan was saying, well, we haven't got many strikers. Holly McNamara would be good. But, bearing in mind, she pretty much said Rado was like the catalyst for her career. She was injured quite a bit when Dario was there, but she mentioned Dario as well when she was talking about leaving the A-League. And she obviously mentioned her current manager as well. Well, her current manager's just re-upped. So if she wanted to work for him still, she'd just stay there. That wouldn't have been a problem. They would have loved to keep her. But we know she's going for an opportunity somewhere else. And normally speaking, if there was a name in another league who said, I'm going for an opportunity somewhere else, Soccer Donna would have like, oh, she's been linked to this team, that team. She could go to the WSL. She could go to France. She could go to... It's crickets. And when it's crickets, I always feel like Brighton could be in because we just do not leak stuff. We do not let this stuff go out there. Now, I know the Leah Vouty thing, it was mooted at some point, that she was interested, and it kind of got out. But Juventus are leaky as a sieve with their information. Let's not forget that we found out that they were interested in Fran. Fran wasn't really interested in them from what it sounds like. But again, the news came out. It unsettles players and so on and so forth. I think a person's name is Maura Muno or something, seems to have an in with Juventus. If there's anything to do with Juventus, they know it. I think she is like she's got connections there basically. So anything to do with Juventus, and to a certain extent the women's Serie A, it's out there, gets out there straight away. So and so's going here, so and so's going there. But yeah, nail it on, and then you can basically book it, because once it's out there, it nearly always comes to fruition. But we didn't. Crazy Man was never linked with going to any other clubs. Joromo was never linked to going to any other clubs. Heaps was never linked to going to any other clubs. Now, a couple of them might have been out of contract, so maybe people would have gone, "Oh, educated guess she's going to move, or this player's going to move." None of them were linked with Brighton before they came here, that I'm aware of. And actually, if you look back at like the past few seasons, very, very rarely is a player like linked with us and then actually moves to us. Because it's almost like if Brighton have got a legitimate interest, they're like, right, everyone shut up. Nothing. No, you're not allowed to say anything to anyone, or you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. So I'm quite hopeful about Holly McNamara, but she could literally go anywhere. She is a free agent, so she could end up in the NWSL, whatever. But I would like to think that if you were going to play abroad for the first time, I think she's 23 or 24, so she's still young in her career, still young in the Australian squad, that you might think, well, it's going to be uncomfortable enough going to another league. Why don't I give myself a bit of familiarity with, at least I'm going and playing with a guy I know, under a guy I know and I've worked with before. At least it's a known quantity sort of thing. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
And my friend Charlie, I'm sure Charlie did some work in the last few internationals.
Yeah, exactly. So Charlie's got lots of opportunities this season. I think McNamara will probably start for us if she came in, with probably Beth as the kind of her backup, a little bit like she was kind of, I suppose, Tamberg's backup at Spurs. But occasionally they'd flip-flop. And then you've got OG as a kind of a bit of a wild card, where I think if she comes in and plays really well, then you find a way to get her in the team. And if it's taking her a while to find her feet, then you just start to give her some substitute appearances, the odd start maybe in the cup, see how she does. And, you'd rather have an embarrassment of riches than the opposite. We'd rather have too many players we can't find enough time for than because they're so good. Than the opposite, that we're kind of desperate for players to come through because it's not working. So yeah, we will see. But like I say, I think we can hand on heart say we are not done in the transfer window by any stretch of the imagination.
There's got to be a few more. Yeah,
it's got to be.
It is a weird one though, because like you say, you're kind of expecting at some point we won't have 8 to 9 players coming in, and then we do.
It seems to always happen.
It just keeps happening. So maybe that is just the way women's football is at the moment. It's a lot of ins and outs, and
I think certainly beyond the top. I think the top 4 now are in the position where they can offer 3-4 year contracts, maybe even more. I still think a lot of the clubs in that kind of just below that sort of, and when I say top 4, I don't even necessarily mean in ability. I just mean in terms of spending power. I think there are probably clubs like Brighton, Villa, who the majority of the time they're not going to want to go for like a long contract until they've seen you come and at least play and see how you gel. And Chia was a bit of an anomaly because she was so good that I just think if we'd have said 2 years, she would have said, well, I'll just go somewhere else and get 4 years. Like, you know, so I can see why they didn't quibble with that. And equally, you know, if she has another good season this season, someone comes in to buy her, you say, well, she's got 2 more seasons left on her contract. So sorry, it's got to be a hell of a bid. You know. So yeah, it is. I think you're right, Claire. It is still kind of the situation with a lot of women's football where, you know, you're not going to have to wait massive amounts of time if you've got your eye on a player, but you don't want to pay the fee. You know, you be a bit patient. And and you can get it done. I mean, look at Arsenal.
I think Arsenal's a bit different because I think they just had a really strong squad for a decade that is aged out.
Yeah.
So they've had no choice but to sort of let a lot of people go and bring in a new generation. And I think a little bit same with Chelsea. They probably have a little bit of that as well. But Man City have already kind of staggered it over the last few years. But us, we're not up there yet to be able to, like you say, offer everybody 4-year contracts. So,
No, but that's the thing. You see, Arsenal have kind of gone out there and got, you know, Stanway, I'm pretty sure, is out of contract. Badger's out of contract. Reuteler's out of contract. So they're kind of doing what we're doing, but they're able to go to those players and say, we can give you 4 years.
Yeah, and we give you a huge wage. Yeah,
they've also got the cachet, haven't they?
Exactly.
And like, you know, Selena Churchy is an Arsenal fan, so you know they're going to get Selena Churchy on free, and she's going to want to go there because she gets to wear an Arsenal shirt.
It's win-win-win all round, except for Hoffenheim, who lose a player for free that was, you know, should have gone for a few 100,000, I would have thought. But, you know, like we say, that's kind of the game. So we talked about incoming. So I think it's only fair that we talk about an outgoing, which I think this came. I'm not quite sure where it came in the timeline. Maybe it felt like it was after we'd obviously signed Yorimo. Pretty sure it was before we signed Vouty. But Nadine Noordam has made the move back to Ajax. Funnily enough, they sold Nordman.
Nordman's gone.
Yeah, they sold Nordman. So I wondered if it was like we were going to get them confused. So we'll sell Nordman so we can have Noordam back. Because it was
Nordman has gone to Juve actually.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of it's like a triangle. So yeah, I mean, I've seen 1 or 2 things out there. I don't know. I don't think. I don't know how much Nadine's spoken about it. I haven't been looking at Ajax's sort of information and their social media, but it just sort of seems like she wanted to play more games, and also perhaps, you know, wanted to go back to Amsterdam, to the Netherlands, and, you know, if you can combine those 2 things together and go back to the club where you were successful before, then it's kind of win-win-win, because I think we could see the writing on the wall with Yorimo coming in and obviously being very heavily linked with Vouty and even a couple of other midfielders, to be honest with you. Whether they happen now, I would think unlikely, but every time one was mentioned, you could see them coming in above Nadine, and you know, it seemed like the logical thing. Abby, what did you think about you know, the news that Nadine would be leaving?
It wasn't a massive surprise, I have to say, because she did seem to struggle to make the start. When she came on, she played extremely well. She's just lovely. That's I mean, most of our players are actually lovely, and we are sad to see them go. But she was particularly lovely. She will be forever a Brighton legend because she scored that goal that took us to the FA Cup final. And, you know, she fulfilled the dream of being at Wembley. There was quite a lot beforehand that she'd been there 6 years ago with her mum and said, one day I'll play here. And she did. And she scored the goal that got her there. So that's all very, very lovely. But in the cold light of day, she wasn't perhaps playing as much as she wanted to here. Also, I don't know if it's part of the equation, but she got engaged at the beginning of the break when she was on holiday in somewhere, looking very, very lovely. And that may well just all factor in it and going home. But she'll be, you know, as with a lot of our players, remembered very, very fondly, missed. But I think it's probably the right move for her and possibly the right move for us as well, because I think you'd have to argue very strongly that Leah Valti's not a significant upgrade, despite her aged years.
Yeah, I think Nadine was probably, if she'd have gone somewhere like I think she could have stayed in the league, and I think she would have done well at another team. But I don't think it would have been a team that was challenging for the top. Yeah. If that makes sense. I don't want to throw Everton into the mix, but I think if she'd been at somewhere like Everton, she probably would have played more, and I think she probably could have carved out a decent career in the WSL. I think for our ambitions, unfortunately, she was always one of those players where it felt like the club could always do one better. Like they always thought, oh, we could get so-and-so, and then that would knock Nadine down a peg, rather than going for a younger player who might, be able to develop and will be under Nadine. It always felt like they were going, okay, Nadine's like the base level. Okay, we can get Valti. Oh, she'll come in above Nadine. Oh, Yorimo. Oh, yeah, she's good. She'll come in probably above Nadine. And of course, Nadine is just going down, which is a shame. And like you say, I think I said to her when I was fortunate enough to interview her before the FA Cup final, and I said to her that goal, means a lot personally to myself and to all the Albion fans, and that we wouldn't forget it because it's this historic moment for the women's team. And I said, I do think it will be like one of those things that is replayed for years to come. I've long been, I really hope at the new season we have a hype video. I've been long big proponent of hype videos to come into kickoff to get the crowd really like revved up, before we kick off. And I think that goal she scored will be, a bit like the ones they have at the Amex for the men's team. That will be one of the ones that gets us up, ready, raring to go, remembering that feeling and taking that into the future. So I hope she realizes that.
Especially with the BBC Sussex guy commentating screaming over the top of it.
Yeah. Bless him, Robin. Yeah. There we go. At least he didn't say Nord. Well, I could have said Nordman or something. Yeah. After the obviously infamous Simmons incident of similar fame. Claire, what did you think about one of our Dutchies leaving?
Yeah, I think like Abby says, it wasn't a shock, but I would have been like, it wouldn't have been a surprise either way if she stayed on. But I think having seen her social medias, I think it was clear. I think it's a homesickness thing by the sound of it. I think she just wanted to go home. And like you say, she got the opportunity to go and play at the club that she knows. She is, as Abby said, got engaged. So she probably wants to settle down, get some roots sorted, get herself settled. And yeah, good luck to her on that. I think we have, I know our fans, we love our players and we want to support them all the time. But I think we do buy players for the season, some of them.
Yeah.
There's some of them are just for this season or, 2 seasons, get you through, get you up a level, and then we're going to upgrade. And I think that, there is a certain level of player that we do have in our squad that I would not be surprised if they moved out even in the next few weeks, if there was more people that went. It might just be a case of we're waiting to see if we can replace them. But that's where the game is at the moment, and I'm all right with that. I appreciate the players that come in and play while they do, and I will look forward to seeing the better players come in as we progress as a squad and as a team. And we definitely did that over the last 2 years. Over the last 2 seasons, we have progressed. So that is a working structure that whoever is in charge of organising who we're buying and not buying is very aware of and has done really well to make that work. So the transition is great. If we can do that again next season, brilliant. I'd be very excited to see which players we'd be signing the season after, because that would be, we are a team that's up in and around 4th. Even if you come 5th or 6th, you've got to be up there fighting for it. If you're up in and around that position, even if you end up in 6th, but you spent the whole season fighting to be in 4th, that's a progression for me. So, yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? And Zoe said as much in I think one of the fans forums. She said we do have to, or we have in the past signed players who need to take us to where we need to go that season. You know, and I think that's kind of the cold reality of it all. And I also think, as from a fan's perspective, we can't be sad. We can't. Sad's not the right word. We can be sad that Nadine's going, because as a human being, she's lovely. I think when you see players like Yorimo come in, I mean, obviously we still have to see Yorimo, but the pedigree is there, right? It makes sense. Vouty, I think we know, is almost certainly still a better player than Nadine, and probably has had a higher peak than Nadine will ever reach. So from that sense, it makes sense that Nadine goes, because it feels like we've brought in two players who are better than her. Yeah. Whether that obviously pans out to be true or not.
I always think as well, previously we've brought in players who they're able to play in multiple positions. Whereas at the moment, it looks like we're buying players who play in specific positions. Yeah. And we're filling each specific position with two good players.
Yes.
So that, to me, that's where the progress has gone. We're not just got utility players who are like, oh, we're in the shit, you go on and play left wing today. We're building a squad now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
but I think if say, for example, we'd gone and signed someone from Nottingham Forest, I'd go, hang on, why are we letting Nadine? It's a head scratcher. Do you know what I mean? Why are we letting Nadine go?
Yeah.
We don't, when we're signing this player. Whereas like it kind of, with the signings that we made, you're like, okay, Nadine's probably kind of surplus to requirements now. But which is, as I say, on a human level is sad. But on a footballing level, you go, well, that makes sense, because you can't have like 8 players for every position. So if you sign 2 that come in right at the top, then someone has to drop out the back end. And unfortunately, I think that was obviously the case for Nadine, in collaboration with, I think, some of the other things that we've talked about. Ben, give your thoughts on Nadine overall. You know, you're a big fan of the Dutch players, and you know, what do you think her sort of Albion journey has been like, and you know, give it a sort of a summing up?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm gutted for losing one of our wonderful Dutchies. I mean, I've been a fan since she arrived. I think you sort of said that, you know, a while ago about her not having pulled up many trees, and I sort of defended her in that I think that she quite often wasn't given the opportunity to pull up trees, because I think she was, I think she almost was treated as a bit of a utility midfielder, and she was also, oh, Fran's tired, can you go and finish the game, Nadine, kind of thing. And I think there were a few occasions where, you know, either Fran wasn't available or Fran was being rested or whatever, and the team was built not around her, but with her able to go out there and be Nadine Nordam. And I think, you know, Leicester at the Amex, the beginning of the season, whatever, where we beat them 4-1, she was incredible, and stuff like that. And I think, you know, she arrived, what was it, January 2024. And I think, you know, the fact that she was only given an 18-month contract, I suppose, does indicate somewhat that she was basically, oh my God, everybody's injured, who can we get? And it's like, well, you know, that player at Ajax looks pretty good, we'll have her then, kind of thing. And I think they brought her in without really having a job for her. But it was like, quick, you know, we've only got 10 fit players, kind of thing, we need one. So I think maybe it took her a bit of time to get sort of assert herself in the team. But, you know, she was signed on the Monday and was playing on the Tuesday almost. I think it was that horrible away game in the cup at Aston Villa that was her first game. And I think, you know, I think again it was almost like Maisie that Nadine used to get not a lot of, but a fair few goals at Ajax, and she wasn't scoring for us. I mean, she did get a lot of assists for us this year, which was fantastic. You know, again, 2 of them in that Leicester game. But I think she likes to get more freedom on the ball and be able to take chances and stuff and things. And And again, we did see, didn't we, up at Liverpool, what she can do when she's given the ball within range of the goal. I think she came close a few times before that. But yeah, I think, that, as you say, that goal, I suppose it's not quite as big as Robbie Ryan out at Hereford, but it's not big in an existential sense like that was, but it's historic. It's the goal that got Brighton Women to Wembley for the first time. It was a fantastic goal anyway, and with the BBC Sussex screaming commentary over the top, and the amazing celebration where she's running around with her arms out either side of her and stuff. I think she's a club legend, so she's going to be greatly missed. I think I'm really glad. I think I kind of expected she was going to go. But I was like, well, if she does go, she better go back to Ajax, and so I'm really glad she has. Obviously, she's an Ajax fan. It's a bit too close to Arsenal sometimes, but it is one of the great football shirts, and she looks fantastic in it. The women are still sponsored by ABN AMRO, actually, which is much cooler than Ziggo, which the boys are sponsored by. Even though ABN AMRO, the collapse was kind of one of the things that kick-started the credit crunch back then. But I think she looks fantastic in an Ajax shirt. It's going to be amazing. They've obviously got Champions League. One of the reasons that they want to get her back. They've also signed Katja Snoys from Everton.
Another good.
They're really ambitious about getting properly into the group stage of the Champions League and things. So obviously she's not going to get that here, is she? So I think it was brief. It was tantalising. She's a legend, so we'll miss her.
Yeah, I think it just feels like one of those deals where it just ended up being best for all parties, really.
Yeah.
A bit like what will probably happen with Melina if she goes, is that it kind of feels like no one's really lost. Like everyone got her best ability at any given time. They're both probably going to go to where they're going to get more games, and and they both feel slightly surplus of requirements is a harsh way of putting it, but in a nice way.
Yeah. Well, she's been a squad player for us. She's been a really good one.
Yeah.
But she's been a super sub. She's been a squad player. She's been a covering player. At Ajax, she'll be a starter,
a mainstay in the midfield. Yeah.
It's a shame that Joelle Smits came in and took the number 10 shirt, because she did have that before she left. It looks like she's going to wear number 6 at the moment if anyone wants to buy one. But yeah, I think, as you say, I think she's I think she's become a better player here as well. So she's going to go back and make Ajax a better team. So
absolutely. There we go. So yes, fond farewell to Nadine. Good luck. And who knows? Maybe we'll end up playing Ajax in the Champions League one day. And that's the hope anyway. We're gonna. We've done an hour and 20 minutes on 3 players, so I think that's pretty good. But we are gonna go ahead with our what's more likely. This isn't necessarily like a quiz, or that there's necessarily an answer. In fact, we might all think that one of them is more likely than the other one. It's just to spur a bit of conversation and see what we all think. So I've come up with there's only 6, so don't panic. There's not 20 of them. Yes, there are 6 questions which we shall go through, and we're going to start on the subject of Dutch players, so it's a good segue. So here is the first question: what's more likely, we lose another Dutch player or we sign another Dutch player? And I am going to go to Abby first on this one, just to see.
Awkward question.
It's not. I have got an awkward question. That's not the most awkward question.
Thank you for reminding him, Claire.
Yeah. All right.
I have got another one that's more awkward, but there's no, like I say, there's no just your thoughts on it. It doesn't, you don't have to sort of like reach a legal argument or anything like that, but just if you had to sort of have a speculate on it.
I am very concerned, along with Maisie, that we haven't had an announcement about Mo. And I think her contract is up
As far as we know, it is.
As far as we know. It could be that she signed a 3-year contract and we're all worrying for nothing. But I think if Mo's at the end of her contract, we've not had an announcement one way or the other with her. So possibly, and possibly Marit as well. I'm back to that thing of trying to remember who our Dutch players are.
Well, we've gone down from 3 to 2, so
they
it's
trip
getting
me up
easier.
every time. I would say it's probably more likely that we'll lose one than we'll gain one because we've not been linked to any Dutch players. We weren't linked to 3 of the people we've signed. So, yeah. I'll go with
who
lose.
knows? Okay, yeah, I must admit, I probably would lean that way. Claire, how about you? What do you think? Do you think, same as Abby, that one of the 2 that we've got could be on the way somewhere else?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's not just Maisie. You know, like you say, there's several players who are either at the end of a contract or they're not far off it, or you kind of are looking at and thinking, are we re-signing this player? Are they staying? Because we do have Aisha and Marit, who both have huge talent there, but we've not seen any of it in the 2 years that they've been here. So you're kind of like, do you take the risk and keep them still, hoping that you get that talent out of them? Or do you cut your losses and there's a better player potentially, you know, as an option? So you think, let's just ship them out. I don't know. I think we need some homegrown players. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost a couple to make room for homegrown players. So I'm going to say lose.
Okay. I'm going to throw in a small wrinkle. I don't think it really changed anything, but I think it might have been Ben that noticed it, or apologies if it was one of you 2, that Marit said something like on Nadine's thing, like, we'll miss you or something, which made it sound like Brighton, like I am still playing.
The thing is, right, you have to kind of assume the players might not want to go.
They might not even know they're going to go.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if the club gets the opportunity to sign somebody else, you know, Georgia Stanway said, "Oh, I'd like to come to Brighton, please."
Yeah,
do you
think
that Brighton gives a monkeys about anyone else in that squad? They're getting rid of someone to make room. You know, that's what they'll do. And I think that's what the situation will be. If there's an option to better any player, I don't think any player is safe in a Brighton squad, male or female, because if anyone comes in and offers the right money, Brighton will always sell. And if the better option becomes available, Brighton will go and get them if they can. So I think that, I think there's a possibility that several players will go still before the transfer window is finished.
I still think 1 or 2 might have to go.
Yeah,
to be
that's
fair,
what I mean. I think they may have to go because we need British players in.
Yeah.
But also, I just think if there is an option that somebody is available, they might look at it and go, well, which one? We're gonna go with the better option. So, yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if did you catch most of that, Ben?
Yeah.
So both Abby and Claire have gone for it's more likely we lose another Dutch player than sign one. What say you?
I don't know. I don't know who's out there that's Dutch that we could get that's better than what we like we're not going to get Miedemar, we're not going to get trying to think who but,
I wouldn't have minded Tolhoek, but I think she's gone to Frankfurt or
yes, I think so.
Yeah, she's a good player, but
I mean they're both Moelis Lagers and are both out of contract. So it really depends on. I can't see them wanting to not offer Mo something, for instance. I mean, the fact that she pretty much played every game. She did start that Arsenal game. She was captain.
There you go.
She's vice
didn't even get that game off.
Yeah. So I mean, she's our lefty. She's Dutch and she's lefty, so she's my perfect footballer. So she better not go anywhere. I mean, the thing with Marit, I don't know how long her contract is. I mean, she is super talented, and what we have seen of her has been amazing, but we've not seen much of it. So it really depends on whether the club still thinks that's worthwhile. Because I think she's healthy again. They never tell us what someone's injured. But it might have been a knee, it might have been an ankle. I'm not sure. But it looks like she's healthy again. So whether or not the club is going to go right, we've got a season of merit. Then I think this is something we've talked about before. Whether or not they might say, well, we don't want to lose you because you are one of the more exciting Dutch defenders. Go and play at Bristol City for the season, and if you can have a healthy season and a really good quality season, then you can become part of our defence next year. That's a possibility. I think there is also, obviously the homegrown thing. We have, we talk about Jess Pegram a lot. Did really well at Rangers. There has to come a point where you take a punt on a player. She still is like only 19 or something, isn't she? But she wouldn't have the pressure of being a starter. So do we want, there comes a time where you have to go, what's the point of having an academy if you're not going to put your players in?
Yeah, if you can't or won't play them, then
because we, again we released again sort of some of the sort of talented. We all thought Evie Milner was a great talent, but the club's just released her. So again, that's so either Jess Pegram, maybe she'll get another year at a club like Rangers, or why not put her in there as a sort of a backup, occasional sub appearances, cup game sort of centre back. In which case we don't need all the centre backs we've got. So maybe Merritt goes out on loan. I think of the two Dutchies, she's the most likely. But I mean, I wouldn't be against sending her out on loan if she's going to go to a club that plays her.
I was going to say
that's the caveat.
I wonder if they would consider doing almost like a bit like they did with Melina, which is signing her to a new contract, but then loaning her out for the first. So sign her to a new 2-year deal, probably club friendly, because you'd be saying, look, you've been here 2 years and not played much. Give up. Let's come to some sort of arrangement. But I would have thought that Marriott would have quite a healthy loan market. I could see Twente possibly wanting her back. I could see other clubs in the Netherlands wanting her back. I think she'd be very good for a WSL2 team. I think she'd almost be, you look at the quality of centre backs, and there's no disrespect in the WSL2, but I mean, Southampton, I think, came 4th or 5th or whatever. Their main centre back's just gone to Sunderland. So there's not a big the defensive quality is not necessarily there in WSL2. I think she'd easily walk into any WSL2 team and be their best centre back next season if she wanted to. So I think from that perspective, she's probably almost easier to loan out than someone like Jess Pegram, where you'd be going, okay, you went to Rangers, what's the next step up? Is it a WSL2 team? But then you loan her to a WSL2 team, and they do like they did with Olivia Johnson and and Libby Bance, and they just leave her on the bench and blah 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 blah. Whereas I think with Marriott, I think you'd have to. There's just no way you couldn't play her. She'd be a level above, really, I think, in the WSL2. But obviously the injuries are concerned. So I think probably we're all agreeing probably that we're more likely to lose one than sign one, probably.
Yeah.
I think probably statistically that would probably be the logical decision as well, wouldn't it? But yeah, obviously we shall see. We hope that we don't. And like I say, maybe there's something to be done with Marriott where we can keep her on the books, but give her an opportunity to go somewhere and play week in, week out. That might be ideal. So we've spoken about this one a little bit already, so you may have your mind made up, but we'll go around the horn again, as it were. So what's more likely? We sign, and this is primary position, so they're known as being a striker. So will we sign one striker, 2 strikers, or a striker already at the club leaves on loan or permanently? And I'm including OG in that. So what do you think is more likely? We sign just one striker, we sign 2 strikers, or one? I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. We could sign one and lose one, but You know, out of those three, what is the scenario you think most likely? So I'll start with Claire first on this one.
I think we'll sign one. Purely because we've got goals in that front area. We've got Kiko, we've got Maddie. Maddie was coming into her own, you know, once the season before last, she came into her own, then she got injured. Then last season, as the season progressed and they grew in confidence and started getting those results, she became a much, much more attacking forward. So I think they look at it and think like, okay, we've got goals there. We've got OG coming back. She's going to provide goals somewhere along the line. We've got Crazy Man coming in, who's going to provide. You've got Ula there, who's an attacking player. There's quite a lot of attacking players, but there's still no out-and-out proper goal scorer, you know, Michael Owen type goal hanging, just nicks you a goal out of nothing. And that's what I think we're missing. And I think that's where someone like Beth England comes in. And I think the fact that she announced she was leaving Spurs months ago now and still hasn't announced that she's going somewhere, like you were saying earlier with the fact that Brighton are silent.
There's still nothing about Beth's going here.
I think there would be people talking, going, "Oh yeah, she's had a chat with Crystal Palace. Oh, she's had a chat with, you know, Charlton or whatever." There's nothing, and that just says to me, and the fact that like her and Fran are quite busy mates at the moment. They've been on holiday together. And Maria, it feels very much like when Fran came to us and Agent Maria was on the case. And, you know, because Fran went on holiday with Agent Maria, didn't she, before she signed? And it just feels like Fran has taken the baton from Agent Maria, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll be the one that recruits now and brings in my mates from Chelsea, you know, Chelsea days of old." And I just feel like, Beth England will be the big signing that we're waiting for. Okay, so you're saying the most likely scenario is one striker. One striker. And you feel like that's probably going to be Beth England. I think we'll be all right with that. I think that it'd be nice to get more, but I think that we will look at it and go, if we can get that player in, we've got OG as a backup to her. Enough. Yeah. We've got Kiko, we've got Maddie, we've got Ula, we've got Crazy Man, we've got all of this attacking. We still got Fran, we still got Yele. There's goals up in that front end of the team now. If you get that in, if you get Beth in. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that on board. Ben, how about you?
I think possibly two, because I think, you know, I'm slightly more Beth England agnostic, but I don't know why. But I think that is likely. I mean, she was on holiday at some point, or at some point with Fran and Maria. So it was a triumvirate, double whammy agent. There's going to take a lot of willpower to resist both of those. So there's that, and I think, you know, I mean, I'm quite excited about Holly McNamara as well, because I think, you know, obviously she's mentioned the Vidicic connection. She's going to want to play for Dario, and Dario's going to want her. So I think, you know, it's mutual, and I think, you know, I don't know normally how much the managers have to do with the transfers and stuff. Quite often, because obviously the algorithms and whatever's that Brighton have used over the years, I sometimes feel like the managers just get presented with, we got this one, you know, you should see their stats in the Paraguayan league or whatever, and they're like, oh, okay, then I'll slot them in somewhere. But I think this could be somewhere where Dario's having some input. You know, he was the manager at her previous club, so he's obviously still got contacts there. You know, and you know, if she wants a foot in the WSL, maybe we're not her final destination. But if she wants a foot in at the WSL, she wants to come and impress. She wants to come and play for her former manager. Her former manager obviously was impressed with her when she was playing for him. So he's going to want to grab her as well. So I think that's quite likely. As for going out, I think Carla's still a work in progress, and I think we talked about this offline the other week, that I don't see any point at all in sending Carla out on loan. because I think either she sits on the bench at Bristol City or whatever and doesn't get a look in, or she plays every game. But Dario, well, the one thing Dario's been doing with her this season is trying to turn her into the striker that he wants. You know, there was obviously the game away at Chelsea. She scored our goal, but then was still taken off at half time because she wasn't doing the sort of pressing right and that kind of stuff. And she's learning from it. And I think if you send her out on loan, she'll become the player that the other manager wants her to be. She won't become the player that Dario wants her to be. And so if you're not going to make her become the player that we want, then she might as well just go home now, kind of thing. So I think we're going to keep her, and she's going to maybe play more than she did this season, but we're going to turn her into the great striker that she was always supposed to be. But I think within that, obviously, we're getting OG in and things and that kind of stuff. And I think we probably will get Beth and Holly McNamara.
Yeah, I think on the Carla front, I do see the value in her going out on loan, because I think I take your point about becoming another manager's player, but I mean, OG hasn't played for Brighton a single time, yet she's been on loan at AIK for 6 months. So has she become AIK's player and we have to wean her off that? Maybe. I don't know. I wonder whether there's a deal to be done there in saying that, you know, look, we just took OG back for you and kind of fecked you over for the rest of the season. You know, would you be interested in perhaps taking Carla for the second half of the season? And then obviously in January, there's, I don't know. Yeah. I can't see her going out on loan. I definitely don't think she should be going on loan to the WSL 2. I think that's a problem waiting to happen. For me, it would be go and, you know, finish off the season that OG started in Sweden with AIK, or it would have to be a Spanish club, because I don't see the value in her going to some random place and in a non-competitive league and stuff like that. So, but I would be surprised. I think she probably still will end up. Yeah. The other thing I noticed, just before we get Abby's thoughts, the other thing I noticed with Holly McNamara, and it's only sometimes in hindsight you think of these things, and it could be absolutely nothing. But when I did mention her to him very briefly at some point in the season, he almost couldn't have moved on quicker. Because he started talking about another young player there, and Shelby McMahon, I think her name is. I think she's too young to come play. I think she was 16 or 17 at the time. But he was like saying like, oh yeah, Holly's a really good player. She's, you know, obviously doing well with Australia. You know, and they've got loads of other good players too. And I thought, now I'm sort of thinking, oh, was he like, shit, shutty. Like, we're not supposed to, I can't say anything. Like, I don't know. If it happens, then that will make perfect sense. If it doesn't, then forget I ever said it, but it's just random. So there we go. So Claire's gone for, she thinks, one striker. Ben, you're thinking two strikers is the most likely of those three. Abby, are we going to make it a trifecta, or are you going to go with one of the other one that the other guys have gone for?
This is Brighton. We need a striker, so obviously they're not going to do anything except send somebody out on loan.
I love it.
I do think, though, had last season, if we could have got the visa for Garcia, she would have played.
Yeah.
She would have stayed and played. I think we bought her to be our striker, and we couldn't get the paperwork through, so she had to go on loan somewhere. That's why I feel like we don't need two strikers. I feel like she is our second striker. Yeah. They've already bought her.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I think either scenario is feasible. But yeah, I admire your pithy response there, Abby, because
I can absolutely see Aisha going out on loan.
Yeah.
Because I think to be fair to the kid, she's been injured for, you know, best part of 2 seasons now. Coming back and going straight into competing with Carla, competing with OG, you know, competing with Beth England, whoever else comes in. I think we do need somebody else in. I think, you know, going out on loan away from the eyes at Brighton, you know, going down to a WSL 2 team who hopefully play her, then that will do her recovery the world of good and get her, match sharpness and so on back up. So that's somebody that I wouldn't mind seeing go out on loan. I agree with Ben on Carla. I think we keep her, close. If she's not playing the way Dario wants, sending her away from Dario is not going to make her the player Dario wants. So she needs to be here. And yeah, I would love to have both Beth England and McNamara, arrive, this time next week. That's what we're talking about. Happy days. But I just have that, again, not very warm and fluffy feeling that we'll suddenly get, Beth England going somewhere and, Holly McNamara signing for Brisbane or something. And then we're just sat here going, and
the thing that concerns me a little bit with McNamara is Melbourne City are a City Group club.
Yeah.
So I don't think actually going to Man City at this point in her career would do her any favours whatsoever, because Bunny Shaw is by far and away the best striker in the league. You're never going to budge her out. And they've also got 3 or 4 bloody good backups and number 10s and stuff. So I think it wouldn't do anything for her career. However, could City go, well, she's at one of our clubs already, we'll just hoover her up and, and we'll make it work somehow, some way. We'll obviously have to wait and see what happens. I hadn't really thought about Aisha because I don't really consider her a striker. She can play as a striker, but to me, she's a wide forward, sort of more in the like a Crazyman or a Crazy Man or an Ulau. But that does actually raise a very good point, Abby, is that if you're not going to send Carla to AIK, you could send Aisha to AIK and say, go, because she came from Sweden. So it's not like she hasn't got precedent for playing in Scandinavia. She was there for, I think, at least a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. So she's got precedent playing over there. Go back there, find the form that made us get you from Hacken, basically. That would be an interesting one to see if that would, how that plays out. So really and seriously, Abby, do you think it's most likely one of them will go out on loan, or do you think 1 or 2 strikers? You can count.
I actually think it is more likely we'll send somebody out on loan.
Okay, I like that. Now we got 1 for each.
I just have a feeling that somebody at Brighton sitting going, we've got OG, we've got Carla. That's enough.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen, but again, I might be just sort of tempering my expectations so I don't get upset at the end of the season.
That's true. There's no harm in that. I'm an eternal pessimist, so that nothing ever everything's a bonus when you're an eternal pessimist. So there we go. So we have 1 for each one on that. So unanimous with the first one and 1 for each one in the second one. So I'm doing all right, I think. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to start with Ben for this one. We don't sign any new defenders, and I'm talking primarily defenders. So if it's like an attacker who sometimes plays a right back, not that case, but a centre back or a full back, or we do. So basically, do you think it's essentially, are we going to add any defenders, or are we going to stand with what was a pretty darn good defence last season and could have been better? But for 1 or 2 little lapses here and there.
It depends if anybody goes out, doesn't it? I think, and again, it's the eternal, if there's anyone better around. I haven't really seen any sort of, amazing left backs on the market or whatever. So I don't know that there's anyone better than what we've got that's floating around. I'd almost like to say no, because it's been such a sort of solid thing for the team to be built on that you almost don't really need anything to change in there.
Sort of why rock the boat sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Sometimes teams take a while to find each other and stuff, but people just came in and slotted in, didn't they? Moeka was just cornerstone of the team from day one. As soon as Manu was fit, she was in there like she'd been there her whole life. Caitlin Hayes, the great big Irish rock in the middle, and then Charlie on the right. And if Charlie's not working, then Rachel McLaughlin comes on. I think there's. I can't really see how much we could upgrade with what's available. Obviously, never say never, but I think if none of them leave, I think we stick.
Yeah, I actually think that makes a lot of sense. I'll reveal what I think in a minute, but I do think that
the only caveat with that is Jess Pegram, but that's not a signing per se.
Yeah, no, she technically
should come into.
I was going to say technically we own her. That's not.
Yeah,
that probably sounds a bit harsh.
Yeah,
but we're her registration, not her as a human being.
If Jess doesn't come into the squad, then like I said, it's what is the point of having an academy if all you're doing is feeding players to Lewis?
Yeah, exactly. Abby, what do you think? Do you think we will sign a new defender, or do you think we will either go with what we have or maybe bring a player from the academy?
I don't think we'll sign any more defenders, not unless somebody amazing comes up. I think it agreed completely with what Ben was saying. We're very stable. We've probably got actually capacity there that if a couple went, we possibly would, depending on who they were. I think we wouldn't notice. We obviously would because we'd miss them. But what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But no, I think the last season was all about, I think, strengthening the defence. We've got new goalkeeper, new defenders, because we were fairly leaky. That has now been shored up, and it looks this season. Well, it looks this season like they're focusing on midfield, so maybe we'll get a striker next season.
It's working their way through the team. Yeah.
And then by then, all of those contracts for the defenders will have been up, and then they'll start at the back line again.
Well, it's probably not a bad idea, because then some of those players are starting to get a bit older, and there we go.
Worse ways to recruit.
That's true. How about you, Claire? Are you going to go with these two, or?
Yeah, I don't see us signing a defender. What do we need a new defender for?
Mm-hmm.
We got enough. We got all the ones we want. They worked really well. I think, like you said, there's a couple of little didn't quite work sometimes, but they were new. This season there'll be a different kettle of fish. I think this is a squad that knows how to play together as a defensive unit now, and I think that they will only get better next season, especially if you're going to be building up the midfield to be not allowing the ball to come through so easily. If you've got a Valti sitting there going, nope, just sweeping everything up and stopping it all from being an attack in the first place. I think I don't see. I think Pegram comes in purely because we need British players. And like Ben says, what is the point if you're going to have an academy player like that who has clearly gone out on loan, shown what she can do? You've got to have her in the squad at some point to give her an opportunity, even if it's just cup games. But I think we've got a pretty good defence. I wouldn't mess with it.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm going to disagree with you all, though.
That's all right.
That's my prerogative as a host. I think we need cover on the left-hand side. I don't think Marissa can be our only left back or left wing back. There's no other left footers. Raki Maki, I think, is what you might in American sports call maybe like a swing defender, that she could play on the left, but I don't think that's. It's not as. I think often people think, if you're a fullback, you're a fullback. You can play on the right and the left. It's totally different. Totally different, especially if you're a right footer on the left-hand side and so on and so forth. I don't know that we will go for an out-and-out left back. I think we may try and go the route of getting someone who has experience covering multiple positions, if that makes sense. So I think when Marin was available, she was obviously 34 or 35 at the time. you know, I don't know if she's officially retired now or whatever. I'm not suggesting we get Maren, but the good thing about Maren Mjelde was that she could pretty much play anywhere along the whole back line. And I wonder if they might look at trying to get a utility player who they feel could spot Marissa sometimes, could spot Raki sometimes. Raki, I think, has got more cover because Charlie can play there. But then there were a few times last season where like Charlie got took off at like half time because she was getting roasted down that side. And it really felt like against certain players, there was a bit of a, you know, Rachel would be good against this player and Charlie would be good against this player. And occasionally, more often than not, it worked, but occasionally it didn't. And then they had to swap them at half time. So I don't know. I do think we will get another defender, but I don't think you touch centre back. I wouldn't touch the centre backs at all. I think we've got a good 5 there, and I think if one of them was to go, then it's Jess who comes up. I would not be signing any more centre backs. I feel like we might either upgrade on the right hand side, and that's no disrespect to anyone who plays on the right hand side, but I think if there's an upgrade there, you go and try and get it. Or I think we might try and get someone to go behind. I forget the person's name that I found on put in my 11 for the article, but she's like a 21-year-old Icelandic international, someone like that who can basically has got legs for days, is not necessarily expecting to come into the WSL and just start games all the time. It would be okay behind Marissa, but is able to step in and, you know, give her a bit of a break from time to time and things like that.
So this run Heider's
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I didn't want to butcher her name.
We haven't had a Dottir for a season or two, have we? So.
Yeah, I mean, it might not necessarily be her, but someone like that, you know, bloody Mari Ward went to. I actually think is it Dottir? I think she's better than Mari Ward actually from what I've seen, but Liverpool have done the right thing. They've gone and got a young left-sided fullback, possibly even might get developed into a midfielder because actually Mari Ward's worst aspect is her actual defence, to be fair. So, but they've done the right thing in that they're not going to chuck her in and just play a game and get. They've got players on that left-hand side who will maybe start ahead or they can rotate with her, give her some time to develop and get experience and stuff. So that's probably what I'd like to see if we were going to go out and get some depth behind Marissa is don't go and get another 26-year-old or a 30-year-old or just fill a spot. Use it as a learning opportunity and development opportunity for a good young left back and see how that goes. But yeah, I think in general, if nothing happens with the defence, I don't have any concerns with it at all, to be honest with you. So I think you guys are a spot on. I don't know. It's part of me almost is like taking the field as well. That just so many players in our 10 players in our squad are defenders. So chances are we'll get rid of one and get a new one. But yeah, we should.
Yeah, I think you're there again. I'm all for another lefty.
Oh yeah,
you know me.
Well, we have got Manu, but the thing is, I really think if you play her on the left, it's a bit of a waste of what she can do as a left-sided centre back. So, but we'll see.
Especially when she does go forward, it just takes everybody by surprise.
Yeah, well, so they'll be expecting it if Mo's not playing, won't they?
They'll
be expecting it. Okay, so that's the third one is done and out of the way. Okay, here we go. So fourth one, we sign an American player. And the second part of this is going to link in to what we were talking about earlier, or we sign an Australian player. What's more likely? I'm going to start with you, Claire, on this one. We sign an American player or we sign an Australian player?
I'm going to go with an Aussie because we do like to have an arc. We do have 2x2, and we've got Garcia and we've got Haley, so that's our 2 Americans.
Yeah,
there's got to be an Aussie because we've only got Charlie Raw, I believe, so unless you're counting Dario, but I don't think you can count the manager in the squad. So
pop a wig on him.
Eh?
Could pop a wig on him.
You could do, but I'm going to go with an Aussie, definitely.
Yeah, I that's probably more likely, isn't it? Ben, how about you? Do you reckon an Aussie or is there a sneaky American player who might be on the radar somewhere?
There's a couple around actually, but no, I think I've said we're going to sign Holly McNamara, so I think it would be something's wrong if we don't get Holly McNamara.
Yeah, it feels like a massive missed opportunity somewhere, doesn't it? Yeah,
but for her as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that was quite cut and dried. Abby, hold on.
Oh,
wait for it. Oh, here we go.
Here it comes.
Surprised by women's football.
If you had to name someone who's in the US women's national team currently, the squad, who do you think would be most likely to sign for the Albion?
Is it Emma Hayes?
Can you hear me Googling the US women's national team? I don't think I could name any of them. Hold on.
No, I couldn't tell you.
Alyssa Thompson's already over here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm going to have to Google them. Hold on.
Yeah, Alyssa Thompson's got a sister, hasn't she?
She has, yeah, and she is in the national squad at the moment. I think that's the thing, though. The ones we've all heard of already at clubs where they'd be like Brighton.
That's why we heard of them. We haven't heard of them because they're in the American squad. We heard of them because they already play here.
There we go. Squad. All right, Ross. But I'm trying to block most things of America out my life at the moment.
But if we've got an American, then we'll be able to get all the red cards overturned and stuff, won't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Trump will be on the phone.
Be useful. So yeah, basically, Maddie and Liv Garcia have basically got carte blanche to do what they like. These two.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll just say it's not fair.
I think Giselle Thompson, is she not? Is she a right? I think she's a right back, isn't she? If she was a left back, I would say that's a doable deal.
I don't know anything about her other than the fact that she's good.
But
she's 5'4". I can tell you that. She's born in California. She wears number 12.
Bigger than her sister, then.
That's the only information that's on there. That's very useless. A defender. I did see Emily Fox and thought, maybe I'll just say that name.
Yeah. Sophia Smith, we could persuade her over.
Wilson.
Wilson. Sorry, yeah. Most people will remember her Smith.
Yeah, the only players that you know from kind of like foreign teams. See, everything's falling off my desk now. Are those that are already over here? And to be mostly, if they're already over here, they're probably playing for a Charles. Who are they? Chelsea, Man City, etc., etc. So yeah, no, not sure. I was going to go Aussie anyway.
Go
Aussie. I just thought I'd test you. But
because I live in hope that that Emily Van Egmond will come and play for us. Very unlikely. I'm not sure she's what we need right now. But no, I think McNamara would be a great addition, and evens things up, as Claire said, 2x2.
We do like a 2x2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like with Dario in charge, we need more of an Aussie contingent. I mean, we should have had two really anyway, shouldn't we? But one of them.
Well, then you can yell at
Yelly
in Serbian, Croatian, whatever the mixes that they have, and then you can sort of yell at the other two in sort of Australian and
your Drongo. Okay, so that was another unanimous one, so I like that one.
And that was actually an awkward question. Well done. I think it's the first time it's been that awkward.
That's actually stumped you. If you have to Google it, it's definitely an awkward
yes.
question. Okay. So again, previous answers might come into this. I'll start with you, Ben, on this one. We sign 1, 2, or 3+ English players.
Well, we've got to sign at least 2, I think.
Or promote.
Or promote. We've already said that Beth England's on her way.
I love the fact that we've all decided she's coming, whether she's. We're going to be so
well,
gutted if she
you
doesn't.
guys have just talked me into it. I still think we're keeping Maisie. I'm unlike you. I'm an eternal optimist, which is why I spend my entire life being bitterly disappointed. So I think Maisie stays. Obviously, Eleanor Heaps. That's another thing. I need to hear Charlie Rule and Dario both say Heaps.
Heaps.
That's one of those Aussie words. As long as we weren't thinking we were signing Lindsay Heaps, because then obviously that would have been the American player you were after. I think 2. I think Beth England +1. If they've got any sense, Jess Pegram gets promoted into the squad. Bosh, we've got all our lovely contingent of the homegrown players.
Yeah, I think that makes
sense. I don't
sense.
know who it's going to be then.
We obviously have signed Heaps already, so I'm not including her in this
one.
one.
Oh yes, that's all. Another one.
Yeah.
But I've got no idea who. But I think possibly somebody, because I haven't seen much about people asset stripping Leicester yet.
No, it's bound to happen, isn't it? But
I think because there's a talk of Shannon O'Brien, but if we do sign Holly McNamara, then I think Shannon O'Brien's surplus to requirements.
Yeah.
So there's possible Olivia McLaughlin. That might be good. She is English, and I keep getting confused because she's got the similar surname to Rachel McLaughlin, who is Scottish, and she also used to play for Rangers.
Well, that's the confusing thing about Shannon O'Brien, which is probably the most Irish name that you could possibly come up with, but is English. So it's a bit of a weird one, that one, isn't it? But yeah. Okay, so you're saying 2, probably Beth England and another. Okay, I like it. Claire, how about you?
Trying to think how many we've got already. We've got Hannah Porter, Heaps,
I think I did write this.
Rayner, Maisie. We've got 4.
We've got.
Who am I missing?
2 goalkeepers. We've got
Caitlin. That's 5.
Caitlin
counts. Yes, that's 6. So we need 2. So we need 2. So I think we will get 2. Because otherwise we're doing that thing of like starting the season with 1 less squad player.
Yeah.
Which is pointless. We need them. We know we need a full squad because we always get injuries. There's always that busy period where you get a little knock or something, or the weather's a bit rubbish, and for whatever reason people have got a cold or something like that and they can't play. So we need to have a full squad. So I say Beth England +1, but that probably is Pegram. So I would say 2.
Okay, I like it. Abby, everyone's gone for 2 so far.
Are we counting Jess as an added, or because she's technically sort of ours?
Well, I suppose the question is we sign. So technically, I suppose Jess is already signed. So I suppose Claire is 1 plus a 1 coming from the academy sort of thing. Yeah. So Pegram wouldn't technically count.
I think 1.
You think it'll be Beth and that's it?
Yeah. I did just talking about asset stripping Leicester. I did just have a very quick look at where Neville plays, because she again she can play on the left, but she's more on the right as a backup. But
I think maybe 2 years ago I would have said yes to Ash Neville, but I think if we've already got Fran, we've already got Vouty, and we've still got Yelly, and we're talking about bringing Beth England in. I think Ash Neville is just aging the squad in the places we don't really need to age it. So.
Well, no, also I suppose to a certain extent, Marissa doesn't need to develop, does she?
No.
Whereas like all those other positions, we've got players who we need to bring on a little bit, or like I say, maybe just refine a little bit. It's a difficult one because I think the problem always is if you're getting English players, is getting good ones, because the good ones play for England and we can't get them. So do you go for lesser talent just because they're English, or do you try and find a sort of creative way of building your squad around players? So it's a tricky one. I'm gonna say 2, because I like you guys. I think Beth England is pretty much nailed on. I'd be shocked if she went anywhere else. Really would be. I feel like there's someone we might go after, maybe from like the WSL2, who we feel could step up, like a Lexi Lloyd-Smith or a Megan Collett, if we were looking for a defender, to give us some cover at fullback. I just feel like they might think that there's a player who's sort of early 20s who might be able to come in and develop. So I will say 2. But yeah, I think Beth England is definitely one of them. So I suppose it's probably a safe guess to just hazard a suggestion that one more might come in. But yeah, I think 3+ would probably be pushing it, because if we were going to bring 3+ in, we'd have to be signing some very good quality English players, and that is really difficult, really difficult, because they pretty much all play for the top 4 already.
And this, I suppose that's where the sort of checkbook comes out, isn't it? And that's where, because you look at, I mean, again, she's on your list. She's always on our list. You look at Ruby Mace. We should. I still, we think we should have got Ruby Mace last season, and I don't know quite what it was that Leicester did that persuaded her to go there. But I think maybe what she thought was going to happen at Leicester didn't.
Everton.
Yes, Everton. Sorry.
She was at Leicester before that, to be fair.
Blue, whatever. But yeah,
all playing blue, sort of same.
I think Everton thought they were going to be better last season, and I think she thought Everton would be better. So I think she'd be gettable from Everton if we got the checkbook out. And I don't know whether we would, because that would be a few 100,000, I should think.
I would have thought, yeah.
So there is that. And again, other than that, it is, there are some good individual plans at Leicester. Obviously, Nelly Lass, possible England defender of the future, but again, of the future. So,
yeah, it'll be an interesting one, that's for sure. And like I say, it kind of adds an interesting wrinkle to building a squad, because you can't just go out and have like a sort of fancy football team. You have to factor in, nationality and making sure you've got a good core of English players. So we'll have to see. To be fair, you almost pretty much segue very nicely onto my last question, Ben, with that discussion about Ruby Mace, which is, and this will be for Abby. Abby's going to start off our final question. Brighton do or don't set a new transfer record fee for a player? Club transfer, obviously. We're never going to set an actual transfer record fee. Now, we're not 100% sure what the record fee is.
About 50p in it in Brighton's terms, so it's not much.
I think it's brackets undisclosed.
Yeah, I think so. I
don't know why they always write that on undisclosed. Why do you need to say on undisclosed? If you're not going to disclose them, then just don't mention it.
Just don't mention it at all. Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Yeah. It's like going swimming and then on the way out saying to the lifeguard, just to clarify, I didn't poo in the pool.
That didn't drop kids off. Thank you very much.
Weird that you said that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very weird. You thought about it.
Yeah. We think, I have read online that we may have paid 100,000 for Valti. I have not seen that anywhere verifiable.
I assume she was under contract.
She was under contract. I'm not convinced it would have been 100,000, but it could have been. But we do know that Moeka went for 100,000 because that was reportedly her buyout clause. So basically, our record transfer is 100,000. 100,000. So, Abby, will we set a new club record transfer fee and pay over 100,000 for anyone, or will we just stand pat and get all the freebies we can take?
No, we'll get people on free. But the people that we're talking about, Beth England, Holly McNamara, they are free.
Good players, yeah, very good players.
They're good players, and they're free. That's why, certainly with that, that's why it makes so much sense. But no, I can't see them at this point. Not when they've paid for Leah Valti. I mean, if we hadn't paid anything for her, might be sitting here going, oh, maybe. But no, I think that the moths have come out of the wallet for the one and only time this season.
It does show that they are willing to pay a fee for the right player, though, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because they could have said 100,000, no thanks, you're 33, we'll go and look somewhere else. But they obviously felt it was the right deal enough to pay something.
As much as we all sort of have a bit of a joke about the fact that we don't pay for players, I would actually much rather a team that have got good financial stewardship than we're going to throw everything at the kitchen sink and go one above us in the table.
Yeah.
Now, I might be eating my words if they get Champions League and we don't this season or whatever, but I would much rather that, good financial stewardship, because we have seen so many teams, really struggle with money. So short answer, no, I don't think we are going to break the transfer limit. Okay. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think we are.
Okay. Claire, how about you?
I don't think we will. I think we more likely to break our wage barrier and pay somebody who on a free to come in and just give them silly money. Well, not silly money, but a good wage, because we haven't had to pay for them on the transfer. So I think that's probably where we are at most of our signings. But like you say, if there is one signing that is a potential that they think, okay, we will, then I think they do. But I don't think it's ever going to be up near the £1 million mark for breaking the world record fee.
Oh, no.
It will only ever break ours. And I think when you can get players like Fran and potentially a Beth England for free, then they absolutely deserve to get paid a decent wage, because they've earned it. They've got that experience. That's what you're paying them for now, is their experience. So I don't mind them doing that, to be fair, at this point.
Yeah. I'll obviously check in with Ben in a second. It's a similar situation, although we're not talking anywhere near the same amount of money. But I think it's I don't know whether this is a done deal, because I don't really follow either teams, but I think it was is it Harry Wilson, the Welsh international? He was at Fulham. I think he might be going to Leeds. People were saying he's going to be on like £300,000 a week, and they're like, that's insane, he's not that good. I think he's actually a bit older than he people probably think he is, because
he was at Liverpool for a
while.
He
was a good player for them as well. He's quite fresh-faced as well, so I think that makes people think he's younger than he is. And people say, oh, that's like crazy money, blah, blah, blah. But people were saying, yeah, but all the clubs, he could basically open to bids, and all the clubs who were interested were going, but normally we'd have to pay like 10-20 million for that guy. So actually what we can do is say, well, let's fold some of that money into his wages. And then of course every club does that. So they all say, oh, we'll give you 200. Then the other one goes, oh, I'll give you 225. The other one goes, well, okay, well, it's free, so we'll give you 200, so on and so forth. And then suddenly a player he's going to probably like triple his salary, basically because he's not costing them a bean to actually get in the building.
A free transfer in wages is always worth what you would have got as a transfer fee. That's why people wait out the end of their contract so they can leave, because they know if they would have been sold for £1 million, they can demand £1 million in earnings. Simple as that. So yeah.
Ben, how about you? Do you think we'll set a new transfer record fee?
I think it depends, because the only sort of player we'd be spending that sort of money on, 100,000. 100,000 is peanuts in women's football now.
Really,
isn't it?
nowadays, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not very much money. We may have paid something for Eleanor Heaps, because she had another 2 years on her contract with Tottenham.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it'd been. I would guess around 50.
Yeah, it would have been backbreaking.
Something like that.
I mean, they wanted rid, she wanted out, we wanted a goalkeeper. So
and she was not threatening their number one spot or anything. So
I think basically, if we did, it would be for a striker. And I think, obviously we're talking about, hopefully, we're hoping that we're going to be signing Beth England and Holly McNamara, which will be free. But I think if we don't get Holly McNamara, then we'll be like, oh, well, never mind. That's a shame. But if we don't get Beth England, who is a number 9, and that's the thing we've been missing. Carla will be. I'm still convinced that Carla is going to be one of the great number 9s for Spain. We'll sell her back to Real Madrid in a few years for 10 million quid. But we haven't got one. We haven't had I don't think. I mean, Michelle was not a number 9 yet. Whether she'll potentially be a great number 9 as well when she get. I mean, because if she was, she would. Arsenal wouldn't have lent it to us, would they? But I think if we don't get Beth England, Dario's going to start stamping his little feet and go, look, we could have done so much last season if we'd had a number 9. It's not just about the goals they get, it's about the focus of the team. And, if you get a decent number 9, then everybody else scores a lot more as well, that kind of thing. So if we don't get Beth England, then he's going to start banging on Tony Bloom's door and saying, look, I need at least sort of X 100,000 quid because we've got to get, Kessia Bussi or, something like that. Somebody from, we're not going to nick like Ada Hegerberg from Lyon, and we're not going to get Katoto from PSG, but we'd probably be able to coax away a sort of second tier German or French striker, or something like that. So I think if we don't get Beth England, they're going to have to spend money because we're going to have to buy somebody else's striker rather than pick up a freebie, and we've got to get a striker. I think, you could have, possibly a bit OTT, but I would, if I was Dario, I'd be talking to them about what the hell am I doing here if you're not going to give me the players I need. So, not like he's going to walk, but I think he might start having conversations about what the point of him being here would be if they're not going to give him the tools to do the job. So I think it would have to happen. If we didn't get Beth England, they'd have to go and buy someone like Kessia Bussi or from a sort of a good team, but not the best. You're not going to get Bayern's striker, but you might get Wolfsburg, you might get Frankfurt, or whatever, that kind of thing.
I was thinking someone like Matteo. I still think she'd go for quite a fair bit of money, but basically this season they've got 2 other strikers who are scoring the same amount of goals as her, and I just feel like she's getting to the age where if she's going to go abroad to another team, she's going to have to do it quite soon. She's sort of 28, so she's either going to play out her career, 29 maybe now. She's either going to play out her career in France, or she needs to probably move quite soon to be giving it a go. So,
is that, or we just go through London City's bins, and see who they basically rejected.
I feel like I think it might be Lotta Lindstrom they loaned out. I've actually heard a few London City fans say they would have rather loaned Goodwin out and kept Lotta Lindstrom.
They need Goodwin because all their other players are from Barcelona.
Exactly, that's very true, and that's what handcuffs them slightly. So, I think exactly the same as you. I think generally overall the likelihood is we will not, but I think the slight caveat to that is we will if we have to. Because we cannot go without a striker. So if something happens with Beth England, or they do want 2 strikers and they get Beth, but they can't get McNamara, or they can't get another player on a free, then we could see it happen. But I think on balance of probability, I think it's more likely that we don't. We haven't so far. And Danielle Carter's 50k lasted a solid many years, like a good 4 or 5 years. So, and we've only doubled that in the last 3 or 4 years. So we haven't really got a precedent of just, breaking that record year after year after year. So,
but going on how rubbish I am at predictions, this means we are going to break the transfer record, signing a striker from America. So
there we go.
You
heard it here first. And on that bombshell,
Trin, do we think?
Beg pardon?
Trin Rodman, do we think? Like that?
Yeah, it'd be nice. Although she's in the Kang family, isn't she? So you know, they just move their players from one to another They don't let them go outside normally. In general, they just keep them penned in a little shed, and then they let
herd them around.
They literally do not let them go outside. They keep them in an indoor training bubble where no one can get near them. Yeah, so there we go. So somehow with very little, well, not very little news, but with some news, we've gone 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think we deserve some sort of award for that. But,
I was going to say, I don't want to drag it on too much longer, but I suppose the only bit of news is that there hasn't been any news. I mean, both on the signing people and new contracts front, but we're waiting on tenterhooks to see what everyone's going to be wearing next season, as it were, to go to Paris Fashion Week.
I'm not. I couldn't care less.
Claire's just bought the training top. She doesn't want them.
I bought last season's. I don't care.
Yeah,
I buy what I like.
She
but
wants
I'm not
them to announce.
They bought a new one out.
Obviously, it being the 125th year, there's going to be 3 new kits. They were going to be doing that last year, weren't they? Because they were going to get rid of the yellow one, but it ended up sticking around.
Decided not, yeah.
But the purple hasn't been that popular with a lot of people anyway. You know, people who like it, but people who don't. But obviously, the new home kit is supposed to be coming out, and I was absolutely convinced it was going to come out on Wednesday, the 1st of July, because there was an announcement or something, or just something on the website that the mega store was closed on Monday and Tuesday, the 29th and 30th of June, and the shop in Churchill Square was going to be closing early on the 30th of June. So it was like, oh, they're preparing it, they're getting it all ready to put the new kit in, and nothing. They brought out the new training kit, which is very lovely, fetching sort of dark green, but there's a wall completely covered in training kit in the Churchill Square shop. I've not been to the superstore. The megastore must be weird upstairs, because like 3/4 of that is kit, isn't it? So you know, it just feels so much like they should have done it last week, and it hasn't come out yet. So yeah, get on with it, guys. Come on. We want to see our new Switzerland captain wearing a shiny new shirt for next season, and it's not happening because, I think last year, because the mega store reopened on the 2nd of July last year, and that was basically a day or two after they'd released the new kit. So it should have happened. So come on.
Yeah. Well, you want to get a lot sold before the start of the new season, in theory. Yeah. So the longer it's around, then...
they haven't confirmed squad numbers yet. Blah, blah, blah. I suppose the other thing as well is that obviously they released that centenary and a quarter, that special edition pale blue kit at the players' evening and stuff, and they confirmed a couple of weeks ago that they will actually be wearing that when in the home game against Arsenal, because that's the closest game to the 125th anniversary of the first game. And I don't know, it's not been announced. I'm assuming the women aren't going to do similar, because obviously the women's team isn't that old. I suppose the other thing on the subject of the 125th, if people hadn't heard, I'm sure everybody's heard, but there was a plaque unveiled at the Seven Stars in Ship Street in the centre of Brighton, because that was where the meeting took place back in 1901 to set up Brighton and Hove Albion. So there's now a lovely square blue plaque on the wall outside.
Yeah, and I expect there'll be lots more 125 things as well as that game approaches and stuff. So, and I would have thought there'll be some mention of it, I would guess, on the at least the home kit, somehow, some way, whether it's the sleeve or, I know last season the neck, the inside neck said "We Are Brighton," so whether they put a 125 centenary or something on there, I'm not sure, but I think it'll get a mention somewhere on there, and that feels sensible. So I think we're just holding out hope that they're not doing it for some sort of promotional reason, like I say, that they're going to do a big announcement that they've signed this player, that player, the other player, here they all are in the new kit. But yeah, It is a bit of a strange one. So we'll keep everyone updated as and when, if we hear anything. I'm sure all of you are all over the social media and stuff. So as soon as there is even a hint that it might be coming out, it'll be on all the channels and etc. etc. So and then you'll feel compelled to go and buy one and get the WSL lettering on the back. No, Claire says no.
If I can't have Claire says 4-0, I'm having Claire says no.
Claire says no. I'll have to do a slightly more aggressive one, like a hard rock one, which is Claire says no.
Claire says absolutely not.
we need to know whether we can put a Simons and an 8 on the back.
That's true. There we go. Well, I think that is going to round off this week's show. Remember, you can find us at SheGulls on X or Twitter, and of course Instagram, run by the friend of the pod, Steve Gibbs, over there in Germany. You can find us at SheGulls.com, where there are links to all the other areas of interest. Hopefully sorting out the songbook is one of the priorities over the summer holidays. I was going to say, we'll need a few new ones. We need a few updated ones. So if you're able to help with that, then do drop us a line via one
rhymes with Valty. Yes.
I'll get back to you.
We'll leave that for next week.
It could be Leah. Maybe we have to rhyme it with Leah. We'll work on it. We are also on Facebook, so you can find us on Facebook by searching SheGulls Podcast. And we did actually have a comment on there the other day, didn't we, Abby?
I know, we got very excited.
So that was great. And obviously, of course, whilst you're there, do give Brighton Women fans a follow. I should also mention, while we're on the subject, 6th of August, I think it's Thursday, the 6th of August, is the SheGulls over Sussex arranged quiz at the Crossbar. So just Google Seagulls over Sussex, beg pardon. Yeah, sorry, force a habit. Seagulls over Sussex. And I think the tickets are either going to be on their website or they're already on the website. Hopefully SheGulls will be represented in some way, shape or form at that, and obviously do go and support. It's all for the foundation, so that would be fantastic if you can. I should also give a shout out our lovely Patreon members, Jess, Ben and Angie, of course. Thank you very much for your support. Can't do this without you. And I also shout out Tim and of course Joe at the same time for the same reasons. So we've been able to make some investments, and as I said, I think I might have mentioned it last week, but we are hopefully being able to do a podcast out and about, possibly at Crossbar. Outside broadcast. We think we've got all the stuff to do it now, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it all works fine, and we'll do some experimenting and have some more news for you on that soon. So all that remains for me to say is, as always, a massive thank you to you, Ben.
Well, thank you all.
An enormous thank you to you, Claire.
You're welcome.
A gigantic thank you to you, Abby.
Thank you.
And I shall say, this has been the SheGulls podcast.
Right,
Good night, everyone.